What's good, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy Malik Washington back at it again with another episode of the BMB, where we break barriers and we raise hell. How you ladies and gentlemen doing this fine day or evening, wherever you all reside? I pray good fortune, serenity, and peace to you all. Well, I guess that's both the same thing. Nevertheless, you get my point. Or I guess I could replace that with success. So success, serenity, and good fortune to you all. Today's episode is number 3. To be a racist country or not to be a racist country? That is the question. Now, you might be sitting here wondering to yourselves, why the hell did you name it in that way? And why are we talking about racism and the country being racist or not? Well, I want to say a few weeks ago, there was a Republican politician, a black Republican politician by the name of Tim Scott, who gave a speech, and the speech was regarding racism in America. His premise was that racism is not prevalent in America. However, there are, you could say, bobs and bits of it in or around the country, depending on where you go. He specifically mentioned that there was a time in his life where he has had multiple run-ins or encounters with the police, where they have pulled him over for no reason and had no grounds to necessarily, arrest him or even pull him over. Nevertheless, he tried to say that these could have been possible discriminatory run-ins with the police, where they stopped him and there was really no reason to stop him. He kind of put the premise on the fact that because he was a black man who was riding in a nice vehicle, that the police might have saw him as a target, and thus is the reason why he was pulled over. In that respect, he then went on to basically say, but it was not a racist country. America has really died down racism ever since the 60s. And thus, as Americans, we should try to continue to move forward and do our best to be more integrated instead of being divided. Now, the other side argued that he was contradicting himself, that he was not being realistic, and that it seems like he wants to come to the side of saying that racism does exist, but he wants to pander to the Republican Party. And thus is the reason why he's in this position, this compromise position, where he wants to go around talking about how there is no racism, yet while quoting there are racist components to society. And we know how the liberals take certain things when you mention things related to racism. Immediately, it's that you're being contradictory, you're being this, you're being that, when you talk about your realistic experiences in life. But we know that analogous experiences are not exclusive to everybody. It's just to that specific individual. And with that being said, just because you've had a experience with, let's say, white people or a experience with the police, it does not mean within the police or in the white race, every single person is a racist individual or a prejudiced individual or a discriminatory individual, irrespective of the fact that you might actually have people who are racist, who are discriminatory, who are prejudiced. But do we not all have prejudices? And have we not all, to a degree, been discriminatory in our practices in various aspects of life, not just within race, of course? Whether if it's within stores, within our dating preferences, within our families and choosing who we would want to marry our sons or daughters, or even to have sex with them, laying down the pipe and all that. But the point being is that a lot of people are saying, well, he's being contradictory. Some people are saying that he's pandering and all these different things. I think to a degree he was pandering, but he was pandering to liberals. He was not pandering to the Republican Party. He's always been a Republican. His talking points have always been Republican. His heart, mind, body, and soul is Republican. But to talk about your experiences of so-called racism in America, it would dare one or behoove one to think, well, then you're technically saying that racism does exist. But I dare to think that that's not what he's arguing. Racism does exist. Anyone saying that it doesn't is either in denial or they want to pretend like it doesn't exist because they want, basically, in my opinion, to kiss someone's ass on the other side that wants to argue that there is no color and there is no racism when there are components of it. It does exist. Hell, I'll even go this far to say that even within the black race, there is racism. Is it in an institutional way? Perhaps not. But black people can be prejudiced towards other races. And I've even heard quite a few black people talk about other different races, including white people. So just as much as we want to say that, oh, well, the other side is racist, our own can be racist as well. But the conversation is regarding Tim Scott and his idealism on racism in this country. And thus is the reason why I labeled it in this way or phrased it in this way, to be a racist country or not to be a racist country. That is the question. Because despite what Tim Scott said, the question that one has to ask themselves on a more relative level is the country racist? If we're talking about the bigger picture, if we're talking about the painting as a whole, the country is not racist, right? Racism has died down. It is not like it was back in the 60s and prior. You do not see black people being segregated from whites to a nth degree. You do not see the redlining happening to a high level. Are there possible redlining practices that might exist in certain neighborhoods and in certain parts of the country? Perhaps. But it doesn't happen as often. Are there racist cops who do racist things? I'm pretty sure that there are. And when people have prejudices, they tend to use their prejudices through their municipal powers. So if you're a police officer and you hate niggas, 9 times out of 10, you will treat black people a certain way with your prejudice. And thus is the reason why it's hard to determine right off the bat who's racist and who's not. Because if they haven't done anything per se, you can't immediately just say, oh, that's a racist person because they're white, which is kind of what we've been doing in this generation. And I don't know why millennials have gotten into that, prejudging people before they actually do things. You just immediately look at somebody and you say that because of the color of their skin, that's what they are. Because there's been actually, I've seen videos of black people who are now using their blackness as a way to now label white people at random, ad nauseum, as being racist people. So people who are now not racist are now racist. And that's the weird thing to me, because there was a point in time where white people saw black people as shiftless. White people saw black people as coons. White people saw black people as monkeys and tar babies and pickaninnies and all these different things. Bootlickers, all kinds of stuff. And yet, in the same sense, we may not see it, but we're acting just like the people from back then. We're now taking the power that we have, that some of their people have given us. And at their discretion, at their dismay, it is now being backfired on them, because people of color feel, now that they have a little bit of power and a little bit of influence, now we can start doing other people the way they used to do us. So it's kind of ass backwards and counterintuitive, but here we are in today's world, talking about that we are talking about that this is a racist country while utilizing racist tactics. And it's funny to me. Yet when we want to talk about how other races treat us, we don't want to treat others in the same way. We want to use the same tactics that they use against us, and it doesn't work like that. But ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about Tim Scott's speech, was it wrong for him to say that this is not a racist country? In my humble opinion, I do not think so. Some people, and I was looking at certain posts and I was listening to certain podcasts and videos. A lot of people were saying, especially black people, you know how the pro-blacks be. As soon as they hear a black Republican pop up and he says that it's not a racist country, all this is a coon, bootlicking, Sambo, Uncle Tom ass nigga, all that bullshit, right? Listen, as much as you want to say that it is a racist country, you all are becoming the racist. Just saying. Constantly and persistently talking about racism does not end racism. The isms that is related to race relations is internalized. When we talk about racism, you have to talk about the biases of which one has from within. If there are white people that have an internalized hatred for black people, there is nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, that you can do about that. Not even Jesus can change the heart of a man who wants to be a racist individual. If they are internalizing that, and that is the power of which they are driven by, if that is the motive of which they stand on, you can't change that, because that thought, that teaching, that ideology, or that idealism is their power. There's nothing that nobody can do about that. Not even you black people who are the nicest, who are the most humble, who are the most who have the most integrity, the ones who are the most articulate or the most educational. No matter how much you might deal with a white person and show that your actions are not the stereotypes of which they put out there of black people, the archetypes, it does not matter. It's an internal belief. It's the same way if somebody, if you put a plate of broccoli in someone's face and then they get the smell and the smell just goes up to their brain and they're like, oh, no, this is disgusting. Hell no. This stinks. Hell no, I don't want this broccoli. Get that away from me. If they don't like it and their senses don't like it, guess what? They're not going to like it just because you tell them, oh, just try it. No, I don't like the smell. And more than likely, if they don't like the smell, they're probably not going to like the taste either. But smells can be deceiving. There are some things that smell, and that's neither here nor there. Some things that stink is not equivalent to what they taste like. Some things could smell bad, but actually taste good. But the point is, racism exists. Yes, it does. Are there racist people in the country? Absolutely. Just like there's nice people in the country. There's non-racist people in the country. There's people who love black people to death. There's people who hate black people to death. For good reasons, some for no reason at all, or bad reasons. But at the end of the day, the world it literally is a culmination of a little bit of everybody. So to sit here and insinuate that there aren't racist people would be absolutely ridiculous. But to sit here to also insinuate that that the entire country is racist because of those few people is ridiculous as well. Just because there are a few weeds among the plants, that doesn't make the whole garden bad. You just have to weed out the weeds because they cause the good plants to have a hard time to reap a harvest. So the point being is, your representation, your presentation of who you are, it matters. The representation, but if there are a few people that make the entire race look bad, listen, you're going to get all kinds of perceptions. You're going to get all kinds of perceptions. You're going to get all kinds of people who are going to hate your guts, including white people. And there's nothing you can do about it. There was a study done on whether if Americans believed that racism was still prevalent in America. Over 60%, or it might have been over 70%, but over 60% of Americans still believe that racism is prevalent in this country, specifically towards people of color. Right? And while that might be true, again, that question is relative. But you have to go by what you see. You can't go by what everyone else sees. Because if you listen to what Joe says over there about what white people have done to him, you're going to think that and you believe everything he says, and you listen to the hatred he just has for all white people because of a bad experience he had with maybe about 1, 2, or maybe even 10 white people in his life, you're going to end up hating white people too, listening to Joe. Because at the end of the day, that's Joe's experience. Sorry it happened to you. Life does happen. There are people out here who are ugly, and I get that. But you're not going to make me hate everybody because of a handful of white people that done screwed you up, that messed you up. You're not going to make me do that. By that logic, I can do the same thing for about 10 to 20 black people that mistreated me back in school. Does that mean I should hate all black people because of what a few black people in school did to me? Hell no. That makes no sense. But here we are living in a world where if a few people screw you up, the whole country is somehow racist. I don't see that. I don't see it that way. And if that makes me some sort of bootlicking coon because I don't think the whole country is racist, I think that you're a delusional bootlicking ass kisser for a bunch of people who are just as delusional as you. Because I don't see that. A few people did something wrong to me, so I had some sort of analogous experience with racism. Somehow that means that everybody in the population is racist as well. Because we wouldn't want people doing us like that. We just wouldn't. But here we are. And the country, or specific people in the country, want to tell you, you should believe that the whole country is racist. No, I don't think so. And if anybody is sick in thought, it ain't people that believe that the country is not racist. It's the people that believe that the whole country is racist. There's no way in hell everybody around you is racist. Maybe you're the racist one because you keep thinking about racism. Because you keep thinking that every time someone stares at you, they think that because you're black, you're somehow an enemy. Oh, yeah, that's a black guy. That's a black woman. Oh, look at them. Ugh. Oh, I think we need to kill them. Oh, I think we need to hang them today. Cops come, you see a cop come by and you think the cop is actually thinking about you. The cop just looking at you and he's just like, is that a nigger? I think we need to kill them today. Like, this is literally the way a lot of black people are thinking right now. That they're just a target on an everyday basis. And this is not true. Hardly everybody is not thinking about you. Okay, some people got shit to do. Most people, if not all people, got shit to do. And I still even argue this. The real racists, the ones that hate your guts, they keep to themselves. They don't even think about you. They really don't. You get some of these people in the who get publicized. Yeah, they'll pop up. They'll pop up and they'll get real belligerent and ugly. I've seen quite a few of them where some real racists pop up. Black people encounter them. They talk about how they hate blacks and all that. As a matter of fact, I actually saw a video where there was a black guy. He moved into a very refined neighborhood. It was a really nice neighborhood. And some Chinese guy came up to him just at random, asked him, what the hell is he doing here? And he said, and the black guy said, sir, I live here. He said, I just moved here. He said, you don't belong here. Go back to where you came from. Didn't you live somewhere in the hood? Go back to those places. And then the black guy said, you must be racist because I'm not moving anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I live here. I moved here. I paid money to stay here. Therefore, I'm not going anywhere. That man said, he said, I can't stand niggas like you. You come here and you do this and you do that. You know how racist people like to go on rants and use stereotypes and all that other bullshit. So they're here. They exist. Nobody's justifying that. He has a right to feel how he feels about black folks, but that don't give you the right to just walk up to a person and then just start talking your shit, because you must be looking for a fight, sir. Keep your racist beliefs to yourself. But if I ain't did shit to you, if I haven't said nothing to you, we have nothing to discuss. So as long as I'm living here, paying my taxes, doing what I'm supposed to do, keeping up with my property, keeping up with my landscaping, that has, for one, that ain't got shit to do with you. And two, I do whatever the hell I want if I got the money to pay for it. You telling me out of everybody here, you the only one that done notice that I done did something wrong just from merely presenting myself here. So trust and believe. I understand it. And I can call it out when I see it. a racist person. If you're racist, you're racist. Black, white, Chinese, Indian. And we act like only white people can be racist. That's what's the funny thing to me. We act like only white people can be racist. Come on now. Don't do that to yourselves. People of color can be racist to each other as well as to other people as well. Don't do that. Don't do this. Because we can go there. We can really go there. But we want to sit up here and bootlick to our own people as much as we want to use that word bootlicking all the time when we want to say, oh, black Republicans or black conservatives. I'm not a conservative or Republican, but I hear this about black Republicans and conservatives. We always want to talk about how they're bootlicking and cooling to the white man because they're making talking points that ain't defending all the crap that we do in our own community. So by that logic, if they're bootlicking the white people, what are you doing? You bootlicking to the same people that are on your side about the things you're saying about other blacks because they use the same talking points. Liberal whites use the similar talking points for their side, and y'all bootlick and coon to them as well, I guess. Despite the fact that that's not even the correct caricature you're using to describe a black person. But we'll go into that another time. The point is, ladies and gentlemen, is it a racist country or is it not? That is a question you have to ask yourself. That is a puzzle you have to solve for yourself. Never let anyone tell you what you should think or how you should think. When I made this channel, I made it for the spiritual purposes, to unlock the potential of one's mind to think a bit differently than the way that they typically think about different topics, about different subjects. I ultimately only focused on one subject, and that was on the scriptures and spirituality in the Bible. Ultimately, because I believe that there are certain things that people believe about the Bible they don't quite understand, either because they don't study it enough or because they heard someone said something about the Bible and they did not go back to the source of which it came from to see if this was if the veracity of it was valid or invalid. And then they come along and then they spread all this misinformation. And then you come to find out that that information was based totally off the bias of an individual who wanted to disprove something. They didn't look at it from both sides. And sometimes we don't use logic in these situations in order to confront these certain topics that we have conversations about. But then back in 2016, going all the way up to now, politics then got introduced to me, more so forced on me, because I started to see how it was being integrated into my real life. I started seeing how people were acting because of politics, how people are driven by political means, how the media is driving people to act a certain way. And I'm sitting up here thinking to myself, especially considering that I went to school to be a historian, and I'm looking at people and I'm like, we never go back to these sources and we don't study them enough. We immediately look at headlines and we get driven by our emotions and we don't use our logic. So, and another thing is too, a lot of people have short attention spans. Just like if you watch this video, you might just do something as simple as click it, listen to about maybe like 1 to 5 minutes of it, and then you're done. Because you're like, well, this is boring. I don't really want to hear this. Unless it's something pertaining to what you want to hear, you'll probably listen to the whole thing up to an hour or even 3. But sometimes, and it takes a patient person to listen to what the other side is saying, because sometimes we could be living in a bubble and we don't try to see it from their point of view. And I listen to liberals and I hear what they have to say. But just because I listen to what you have to say, it doesn't mean I agree with you. I understand your position. I get where you're coming from, and it all sounds good. But here's the thing. Look at what it's driven us to become. You become self-righteous. You think that you're right about every single thing that you talk about. You are disrespectful to people who are who have a different disposition than you. You censor everyone that has a different disposition than you do. Right? You think that you're your position and your influence is the only thing that needs to be put out there. Everyone else can't have their beliefs. And I'm not saying this is all liberals, but this is most of them. We can have debates all day long. That's American to do that. But what is not American is taking these debates so seriously that you destroy people's lives. People can have opinions, even things that you might hate with your guts, but it's their opinion. As long as they haven't put their hands on you, they haven't done anything to destroy your family or defame your image, then you have absolutely no reason to try to censor or go out on a binge to destroy them. And that's what has happened with people who are liberal-minded thinkers. We got to hold people accountable. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's a way to go about doing it. Because some people that y'all are holding accountable is absolutely for petty reasons. It's not for legitimate concerns. So now that if someone has a difference of opinion than you, or if someone doesn't like something or someone, that somehow makes them now a villain because they don't like it. And I think that, and I can't support that. That's one thing I will never support. It's the same thing if I'm talking to a Christian and a Christian wants to tell me that the laws of God were crucified to the cross with Jesus. I could not believe that because even Jesus had a standard. You can't call a man perfect if he didn't follow a standard. Something had to quantify him to be labeled as a perfect man, as well as other individuals in the scriptures who were allegedly perfect men. So you're not going to tell me that, oh, we're not supposed to follow laws, yet these people from back then followed laws. That doesn't make sense to me. But I respect your disposition. If that's what you feel and you just live purely off conviction, that's you. But that could not be me. But it doesn't mean I have to get canceled or get censored because I don't subscribe to your belief. And that's what we have to stop doing, ladies and gentlemen. It's a politically correct culture that is using, in my opinion, making the other party use racist tactics against a party who they proclaim is racist. So this is it's a nullified situation. We're at an impasse here. But the true enemy of the mind is ignorance. And until one can see their ignorant ways, we'll never get anywhere. But I'll leave it right there. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes episode 3. I'm going to make another video coming soon. Stay tuned for that. I love you all. Have a good day or good night wherever you reside. And I thank you for listening if you got this far. This is the BMB and I'm out. Peace.